Hello, everybody. A very warm welcome to you all to this session. My name is Abhi Garde, and I head solutions and strategy for Cognizant Softvision APAC. And in today's session, today's presentation, I'm going to talk about how to eliminate risks, how to eliminate ambiguity from our IT projects, and how to, find a way to bring them to success. So let me present my screen. I hope you all are able to see my screen. Right. So again, the topic for today is eliminating ambiguity, mitigating risks, and accelerating outcomes using product mindset. So why is this topic so important? I think I'll ask you all a question. Let's make this an interactive session. Let's have some fun while we go through this. So question to you all. What is the percentage of failure of IT projects? What I mean is, do 50% projects succeed, 50% projects fail? Do 30% succeed, 70% fail? Or do 30% fail, 70% succeed? Please type in the comments, type in the chat box. Let's understand what it is. So if you can just type in your answer, let's see who gets this right, okay? So moving on. What is that number? Well, only 29% of IT projects are considered successful according to reports. Let's get into the depth of this. This is what is the performance of IT projects. So McKinley Oxford, they did a study on, forecasting the IT projects. Here is the breakdown. So software and non-software. For our conversation, we are really interested in the software aspect of it, because that's the point of view where I'm going to talk through the rest of the presentation from. So let's look at these numbers for a software project. Average cost overrun, 66%. Average schedule overrun, 33%. Average benefits shortfall, 17%. Decimal numbers, to be honest. To give you a realistic look of what I'm talking about, what you're seeing on screen right now is a snapshot of a real project, which we were called to rescue. So the status that you're seeing, the progress summary, everything is real. It's a real case study. So this project, compliance project, deadlines are coming close. Work is piling. People are under stress. You have been through these kind of projects, right? Tensions are high. People are stressed out. People are working till late, working on the weekend. Still, it's all negative. Still, there is no clarity whether we are going to be able to finish this project or not. So what's happening here? Let's look at the progress summary. Slippage in timelines as a result of stories taking longer to build and test. Implementation approach change resulting in resource-dependent build test delays. Code logic rework resulting in extra unplanned effort. Team composition, sizing, and capability concerns. So project status, overall red, scope is red, timeline is red, financials are red, quality is amber, resourcing is amber. Wow. So why did this all happen? Well, Thanos says, after I get all the Infinity Stones, in one snap, I'll kill half the universe. Tony Stark replies, seriously? All I need is 2 lines of code. And there you have the 2 lines of code. How we define problems, what is the level of clarity in terms of what needs to be delivered? Is it just a 2 lines of code problem, or are we misinterpreting the problem? So again, coming back to the key question that we are starting with, how do you eliminate then the ambiguity, mitigate the risk, and accelerate the outcomes? Well, what does it take to do this? So, this strip helps us understand. So the project manager and developer conversation, developer goes, I made no progress on your project because I was waiting to ask you some questions. Project manager goes, you could have emailed me or texted me or stopped by my desk. Well, I'm not that invested in your outcomes. I'm not that invested in your success. So it's really about investing in right outcomes instead of just outputs. Let's make this much more clear to understand with this illustration. It's a question of mindset. Now, what is happening in this picture is you've got this martial artist breaking a slab. Now, if this martial artist had his mind focused on just breaking the slab, would he be able to break it? Please type in the comments. It would be amazing to look at the answers. So would he be able to break the slab if his mindset was to break the slab? I come from a martial arts background, so I'll share some insight here. The answer is no. If the martial artist is only focused on breaking the slab, it's not going to happen. What it takes is to focus beyond until your power, your punch, goes through the slab way beyond, the slab will not be broken. So this is the point. Shifting from a static mindset to a growth mindset. What does going beyond mean? Going beyond means, let's do a comparison. In a traditional approach, you would go, it's project focused. I need to finish the project. The team needs to finish the project on time. There should be very few bugs. Requirements should be met. So this unidimensional specification of requirements, which you are deriving from a business requirement document, they all need to be met. Now, we all have been a part of these kind of projects. These projects which span for 8 months, 10 months, year or more, till a release, they are a black box. So if it's taking 6 months for the first release, for the entire 6 months, you don't know what you are going to get, regardless of what your reports are telling you, regardless of the earn burn calculations, all of that, fine. You don't know what is the outcome you're going to get until you get it in your hands. It's a black box. So whenever is your release, 6 months, 8 months, 10 months, whatever, that entire duration is your risk. It's a complete risk, black box. So it will give you a very limited reliability about the quality of the outcomes. You don't know what you're going to get. Whereas growth mindset, what is the right user experience? What are the end consumers expecting? And how do we deliver this? It's about what are the core business outcomes for which the business is making that investment in the first place? And how do we deliver those? It's about scalability, because any business really is about solving a problem and then scaling as much as possible so that you can solve that problem for as many people as possible. So how scalable is our product? Iterability. Why iterability? Oh, we have just spent a year developing this product and now it's delivered and we are done. Why do we need to iterate? Look, today's consumer is getting pampered by every industry, every service provider, every product provider. Their expectations are getting higher and higher consistently. What impressed the end consumer last year is not the same thing which will impress the end consumer this year, because in this time frame, they have had myriads of experiences from your competitors, from different service providers, and everything and anything that they are coming in contact with. So the bar is raising higher and higher and higher. So what this requires is perpetual relevancy. We will look at how to come to a perpetual relevancy shortly in this presentation. But the key point here is that perpetual relevancy comes from iteration. What is the business impact that we are making in the lives of, what is the business impact that we are making for the business who is investing? And what is the impact, the intuitiveness, the ability to deliver that task? How easy are we making the life of the end consumer who is going to use this product? This is what product engineering is about. So then what is different? Product engineering, growth mindset, all of that is good. But then how does it track? in terms of different expectations in terms of return on investments. Let's do a comparison. So if you look at traditional approach, the risk profile, as I just mentioned, the risk profile of these is very high because until you see the outcome, you don't know what you're getting. Whereas in a product engineering approach, it's minimal risk, fail forward approach, and you get a feedback loop at every step. So we want to, get something out as quickly as possible. Don't want to wait till it is perfect. It is just about testing the waters, testing the market. What does the market have to say about this, which I can use in the effort that I'm going to put in to make this perfect, to add the bells and whistles, to expand whatever I'm offering. Now, in terms of turnaround time, again, traditional projects, very high turnaround time, minimum 6 to 8 month cycle for a small project. Large projects span much bigger than that. Whereas in a product engineering approach, quick, short engagements that deliver what works. It's a matter of going out there in weeks, engaging with the end consumers and reducing that turnaround time. Coming to the next one, human centricity. So a traditional approach may incorporate some design inputs in the beginning when the BRDs and things like that are getting written, but inherently they lack human centricity. Everything is document-based approach. Whereas in a product engineering approach, it is inherently driven by the end user insights. Collecting end user insights is baked into the process. It is focused on delivering the right experiences for the end consumer, thus driving the business outcomes. What about then leveraging insights? When you say, insights are baked into this, what does it mean? So in a traditional approach, typically insights are covered during the initial requirement gathering phase, whereas in a product engineering approach, the design and development is led by the insights. Relevant data collection is baked into the process itself, which we will see shortly with an example. Coming to flexibility. So traditional approach, it is inherently a rigid process. Any changes to the user journey is a costly affair because a lot of development testing has already happened. Now, this poses a problem because consumer expectation, as we just saw, is rapidly changing. So if you are tied up into such a rigid process, which cannot pivot quickly to adapt to the changing market needs, your investments are stuck. It's a sunken investment. Whereas in a product engineering approach, flexibility is by design. Changes are quick and, as I said, iterative. We want to learn and learn forward. Go on learning. It's a journey of learning. Now, most important parameter, return on investment. So in a traditional approach, success and business returns are only determined after the go live, right? As I said, till you get something, you don't know what you're getting. In product engineering approach, early ROI is one of the key considerations. We want the customer to get return on investment as quickly as possible so that the business, it has a positive business impact. You are collecting the insights. It's working for the business. So how does it all come together? We'll see further in this presentation. Now, let's talk about the consumers. Who is going to be using these products? Wouldn't you agree? If after all these effort, all these IT procurements and buying all the software licenses, getting the development teams together, putting all of this together, end of the day, when it goes out, if it fails to impress the consumers, would it be a success? Obviously not. So then what does it take to impress the consumers? Sorry, slides. There's a slight lag time. Excuse me for that. Right. So what does it take to impress the end consumer? What we need to know, we need to have a finger on their pulse. What makes them happy? What will keep them engaged? What will get them to adopt? Sorry, I'll just move this out of the way. Yeah. So what will get them to adopt the product, service, whatever offering we are taking to them? What will it take to retain the consumer? What will it take to get the consumer to have that intuitive ability to easily, without any support, without asking anybody, intuitively able to complete the task that they want to complete. So multiple factors come in. This is why we need product mindset. What do I mean? So there are multiple dimensions which are interacting with each other, interfacing with each other: experience, user outcome, and business outcomes. So when experience and user outcomes, they intersect, that is where you create engagement with the end consumer. End consumer is getting what they need. They are getting the right experience and they are engaged. They are loving what they are interacting with. When you intersect user outcomes and business outcomes, this is what builds loyalty. Both parties are on the same page, working towards a common goal. Consumers loving it, consumers want to stay with you. When you intersect experience and business outcomes, this is what generates ROI. So consumers are loving it, they are staying with the experience, we are scaling it up, we are taking it out to more and more people. This is what delivers the return on investment. So cumulatively, we call this the X factor. It is this X factor which determines whether it's going to be successful, whether it's going to be a failure. So what is this X factor? Let's dissect. Let's go deeper now in understanding, okay, all of these, yes, conceptually, it's all good. How does it all come together? So what is it that creates exceptional products? So this is a very, very high level abstract of what this process looks like. So we typically start with a discovery. What are we discovering? We want to know what are our competitors offering to the market. Instead of learning by making all the mistakes, this is an opportunity to learn from somebody else's mistakes and somebody else's success. So we want to, research on the offerings of our competitors and learn what is consumer feedback to that. What are consumers happy about their offering? What are the consumers unhappy about their offering? And what is of utmost interest is what is that gap? That consumer feedback about what they are unhappy, can we fill that gap? Can we use that gap to create a differentiation about our product? And this information is what we bring in to our design process. This is where we want to create a user journey. We want to understand what experience is expected by the consumer at each and every step. We want to empathize with their needs, and this process is called as empathy mapping. Now, when we have done this, we create a mock-up, we create a prototype. It is just a visual mock-up. It's a part of design process. Usually takes, this whole process takes somewhere between 7 to 30 days. Now contrast this, remember, with a traditional approach. You are getting to see what the output is going to be like after the release, after the delivery. What a major risk. Here, without even touching a single line of code, you know what the output is going to look like. This is what is going to be fed into the build process. Here, it's an opportunity to collaborate on the design. Take the design prototype to the key stakeholders. Take the design prototype to the end consumers. Get their feedback early on, even before you have started coding. Now you have set yourself up for success. Now, when the development team starts working on this kind of a prototype, everybody exactly knows what is the experience that needs to be delivered to the end consumer and what technical capability is needed to be able to support that experience and bring it to life. This is that iterative loop. In this scenario, your first delivery goes out. We don't want to make the first delivery very big. It is just a minimum viable product. Your minimum viable product is delivered. Consumers start engaging with it. They start providing feedback. Your delivery team is ready. They are working on the next release. At this point, it's so easy to incorporate the feedback of the consumers and implement it in the next release, giving them a feeling of, okay, we hear you. We are so connected with your needs. We are incorporating them and bringing the new products to you. improving the engagement, improving the loyalty, taking the relationship with the consumer to the next level. So this is really a perfect way to set your development teams, build teams, delivery teams for success. So how does it all come together? What does it look like, this iterative life cycle? So this is what it looks like. So in the middle, you'll see there is a design track, and at the bottom, you'll see there is a delivery track. These two tracks are constantly working hand in hand, in parallel, throughout this process. Starting with the problem definition. Okay, we went out, we did competitor analysis, we know what problem we are solving, and we know what consumers are expecting in terms of the experience, intuitiveness, everything. We design it. That design is fed to the architecture team. They come up with architecture blueprint. Okay, what technical capability will I need to cater to this design? Everything is on paper so far. You haven't touched a single line of code yet. Now this gets into solutioning. When we are working on these designs, collaborating hand in hand, working with the technical team, design team, key stakeholders, basically we are engaging the key circle of influence on the product. So here is where we come up with a prototype which is clickable, which is tangible, where you take it in your hand, you understand how this product is making you feel. Again, a very good opportunity to further empathize with the end consumers, get their feedback. I'm finding this particular screen very difficult to navigate. Oh, this feature could have been something different. All this feedback is possible because you have something tangible in your hands. This kind of feedback is very hard to visualize and bring to life only when you're working with something only as a business requirement document or a paper. Here you have something live, something tangible. Now this prototype is what we want to validate. So remember, it's about delivery and design working hand in hand with each other. So this prototype is what now we will take to the delivery team, and we will come up with a proof of concept to make sure that our technical hypothesis is correct. And this is how you get into incremental releases. So let me also, just to bring more clarity to this, let me also give you a phase-wise breakdown of how this process comes to life, right? So what we saw so far is presented slightly differently. So you are going through your discovery phase, understanding what is the problem statement, refining it further. You come back, you define, okay, here is what our unique selling proposition is, our unique value proposition is. You ideate, okay, how can we bring this to life? Getting into, wireframing, mocking it up, sharing it with key stakeholders, getting their feedback. This is what you put into a prototype, a clickable prototype, where everybody can just go and feel how it will feel to go through that journey tangibly. And this is the prototype now. Once we have validated it, we have gotten the consumer feedback, we have refined this clickable prototype. Now it's time to prove the hypothesis. Now it's time to step into the technical aspect of this journey, which is where we want to produce some artifacts. Typically, what artifacts we want to produce is a thin vertical slice of front end, middleware, back end, database, all these layers. We want to have them talking to each other. We want to prove that the technical architecture that we have come up with is not only hypothetical, it works. And this is what delivers us into the application framework. This application framework, it does not, like at this stage, we don't want to deliver the whole thing. We want to deliver a thin vertical slice in a matter of 6 weeks or 8 weeks. So now in this overall journey, total spanning about 6 to 8 weeks, you have completely de-risked the project. You have eliminated any ambiguity in terms of what the end product will look like, whether this will work or not work, whether our architecture is correct or not, what application framework will be right for this kind of a product or platform. All that ambiguity is now gone. Now it's just a matter of prioritizing the user stories. What features need to go out first? What will give us the biggest bang for the buck? When you do it this way, it becomes easy. Okay, if there is some overrun in one of the sprints, it is only going to be the least priority user stories which are kind of getting left out. Easy to move them into the next sprint. So sprint backlog planning becomes very easy. And now it's a very sure-footed way to continue and go on with an iterative delivery approach. The things that are delivering the biggest bang for the buck, every time they are getting released for sure. Some things which are just a wish list, good to have, all of that. Okay, very minimum impact on the product, even if they are getting pushed back in this life cycle, fine. It is not impacting your return on investment. It is not impacting the end consumer experience. It is not impacting the actual impact the product is going to make in the market. So another real life success story I want to bring you. Remember, I was speaking about earlier a project which we had to come and rescue out of a very traditional delivery approach. Everything was red or amber. You remember the scene. Now we delivered another project very recently. So my team, we followed the entire product engineering approach, which we normally do in Cognizant Softvision, adhering to our niche. This was for a large insurer for a complete platform uplift. So this is the question you remember I asked in the beginning. How do you de-risk a multi-million-dollar project in less than 6 weeks? This is exactly what we did. What were the results? Overwhelming results, amazing results. We showcased to them how easy it is to launch new digital products. This insurance company is contemplating about entering into various different new sectors and segments. How do you launch new digital products with ease? Also, when we are following this process, what we did, improve the net promoter score. Why? Because everybody's happy with the product. Everybody is aware of what it's gonna make me feel. So it's aligned with their expectations. It increased consumer adoption and conversion. Why? Because we did an empathy mapping. We knew what consumer is expecting, what experience is getting delivered on each and every touch point. So it becomes very easy to drive adoption further. It becomes very easy to drive customer advocacy further. This is exactly what delighted the business in this case. We also showcased to them the ease of experimentation with new product ideas and business models. If you can play with a business idea, a new product idea, in a span of 8 weeks, 10 weeks, go to market, pilot, gather consumer feedback, how much can you imagine how easy it becomes to test it out? The investments which could have cost millions of dollars in a traditional approach is getting delivered in just a 6 to 8 weeks time frame at a fraction, very small fraction of the cost required to test out new business models. So what this means is higher return on investment with a faster go-to-market capability. As you saw, mitigating risk by reducing dependence on so many things, especially individual performers, individual contractors. Not one person is holding the knowledge anywhere. It is distributed. The risk is spread across the entire process, which is, anyways, risk mitigatory. So this also increases the digital engineering maturity of the organization. This is another free takeaway, which was there for this insurance customer that, we just delivered this for. They did not have to pay for this. Just working with us, watching us implement this product engineering approach, gave them these so many ideas of, okay, how we can do things differently, how we can, approach things differently and de-risk and mitigate the whole thing. And most importantly, delightful experiences and improved relationships with the end consumers. So this is where, let me take a pause. Let me, let me open up for questions. Are there any questions, anybody? Are there any questions in the chat?
Thank you, Abhi, for the wonderful session. We will wait for a couple of minutes for the questions to come through.
Sure, sounds good. Thank you.
So we have a question. Who are the primary stakeholders you would bring into the discovery phase?
Brilliant. Thank you. Awesome question. So it depends on the context, whether it's a consumer-facing product or application, or whether it's an internal employee-facing product or application. But in general, who we want in our discovery session is, we want to be able to know whose problem are we solving. So our personas, is it whether it is one persona, whether there are multiple different personas which will be addressed by our product. So we want to have those end consumers involved in the part of discovery. Who does this? We typically have experienced designers who will go and do a competitor analysis, as I mentioned. Now, armed with all this information, okay, my competitors are offering this or that in the market. What are my consumers saying to it? Now, armed with this information, this experienced designer will get into interviewing these personas, and we define and refine these personas, understand what are their intuitive needs, what are the key pain points that they have in their life, which our product is looking to solve, all that. So that persona mapping happens. Now, we also want to engage with key stakeholders from the side of the company, the business, the customer who is investing in this. So this would be key peoples of business, say sometimes marketing, sometimes the business users. We want to understand what are their expectations, what are the business outcomes that they are expecting from this process. At the same time, we also want to understand what is the technical lay of the land in which this whole platform or product is going to be implemented. Does this lay of the land introduce any risks? Does it have any specific dependencies that we need to be aware of? Will it cause any constraints in us being able to deliver the right experiences the way the end consumers are expecting? So that technical lay of the land is also discovered at this point in time. So normally here we will engage with, say, enterprise architects, solution architects, technical architects of the customer organization. Also, product owners. It could be business or technical owners of the product. We want to understand what their vision is, and of course, the persona. So this is how we bring together the entire team of key stakeholders to understand everybody's requirements holistically and make sure that our product or solution is addressing all of them. All right, hope that answers the question. Are there any more questions?
Yes, Abhi, we've got 2 more questions. What if we can't bring actual users into the product validation process?
Right. Yeah, this has happened. Again, a very good question. Thank you for that. So yes, this has happened, and we have seen these scenarios quite a lot. So normally you'll find in this context, the business users who are kind of representing the end consumers, they hold that knowledge. They have this understanding because they have been interacting with the consumers. Now, the accuracy of the product and the intuitiveness of the experience may be diminished when we are not directly interfacing with the end consumers, but still, there is a workaround. So the workaround is to engage the business, understand what consumers are expecting from their product. So we'll have to put the business in the end consumer's shoes and help them to help us build the persona. But it's about the persona. The more well-defined the persona is, the better we understand the end consumer, the better the experience we will be able to deliver. But yeah, in case end consumers are not available, we will have to rely on the business to be able to provide those insights. I hope that answers the question.
Great, thanks, Abhi. The next question is, what if we do the discovery free of cost and then the customer doesn't proceed further? Do we do a cost analysis at the start?
Yes, absolutely. Again, a very good question and a very valid question. So typically, if you do a discovery for free, how do you know that customer is not just tire kicking? Or how do you know that customer is going to get the discovery done and then just use that information to, do something internally or figure it out or whatever it might be? So there needs to be a qualification at the start of engagement itself. What are the outcomes that you are looking to drive? This is a conversation that we have with the customers, right? What are the outcomes that you are looking to drive? What is stopping you from delivering this outcome internally? We want to understand whether there is a proper business case for us to engage in the first place. Only when there is a proper business case, then we step in. Now, once we have stepped in, it's important to break down. You saw the breakdown of the entire product engineering process, right? It's important to make sure that the milestones are broken down and the payments are in accordance with the milestones. You don't want to, go through, say, your discovery, design, and then customer goes, hey, okay, fine, you've delivered this for me, but yeah, I don't want to go further. Only when we do this qualification and business analysis, you know that it's a valid use case, the customer wants to bring to life, they are willing to pay, they are willing to engage. Because remember, different to a traditional approach. In a traditional approach, okay, vendor just gets the contract, you are able to deliver, you have been provided all the documents, use the documents to do the delivery. As opposed to that, product engineering approach is about interaction, it's about collaboration. So collaboration is weaved into each and every step of this product engineering process. So if the customer is not fully invested in this process, then the outcomes will reflect that lack of investment. When I say lack of investment, I'm not talking about only money. I'm talking about people, the key stakeholders coming onto the table and engaging with us. So yes, it is absolutely important to qualify upfront, but at the same time, making sure that the milestones are broken down in such a way that they're all fair. You are delivering the value at the right cost, but there is a proper investment from both the parties, the vendor and the customer. Hope that answers the question. Are there any more questions?
No, Abhi, those are all the questions that we have so far.
All right. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you all joining us today. It was amazing to be interacting with you today. Have an amazing day ahead, and thank you for joining. Take care, everyone.